Hello everybody, Mike Maloney with the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. We are at the National Convention here for the VFW, and our goal of hitting every department or getting at least one interview for every department is going to be realized, because we have somebody from Hawaii right in front of us here, Benjamin Gilbert. And we're going to talk to him. Benjamin, thank you so much for stopping in and seeing us. We're knocking out Hawaii, and we're going to hear all the great stuff about you. Please spell your last name for me.
So my last name is spelled Gilbert.
All right, excellent, sir. And please tell us your origin story, where you came from, where you grew up, high school, so forth.
So I grew up as a younger child in Michigan, and then spent my teenage years living with my grandparents in Texas, just outside of San Antonio, in a little place called Canyon Lake. A lot of Army vets might know that place because they have Jacobs Creek out there. So they have one of the bigger Army recreational centers out there at the lake where I say I grew up. But so did that, and then I got a GED actually, because I had an Army recruiter come to me and say, hey, you know, you kind of slacked off a little bit here in high school. Oh yeah, sorry. It's like he kind of slacked off a little bit here in high school. So in the 2 years it would take for you to graduate high school, if you continue on this path, I could have you in the Army. And well, you know, that made sense to me, because I'm like, well, rather than spending these 2 years in high school, I can get a GED and then go into the Army and be getting paid and living life as an adult. And well, that didn't quite work out the way I had planned, and I ended up joining the Army a few years later after that. I actually probably could have continued on with high school, but things did work out the way that, you know, they were meant to work out, so it was pretty good.
Yeah. So tell me about your service. When did you join?
So I joined in March of 2004. I went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then I did AIT in in Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland. First duty station was Korea, and then my entire unit moved from Korea to Hawaii. I did back-to-back tours, got off active duty, spent a few years in the Guard, and never left.
What you said you went to AIT, that's Advanced Individual Training. You went to AIT at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. What's your MOS?
So I was a welder.
A welder, huh?
Yeah, which, interestingly enough, I didn't really do that often. I got put in an engineer unit, and they didn't really have the need
for a welder, yeah,
for me to be there. So I worked with our maintenance platoon, and you know, I helped turn wrenches, and they put me in the tool room, and I was the guy that was accountable for all the big tools. So they had their individual toolboxes, and then I had, like, any of the specialty tools, they had to come to me and I'd sign them out, and then make sure that they were returned. So I was accountable for, you know, really, when you really think about it, like millions of dollars worth of stuff.
Sure.
And you don't think about that when you're a young guy, and you're like, yeah, cool, you know, I'm just doing my job. And then you sit back as you age and you go, I was responsible for some pretty expensive stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I see you got a little first timers tab there on your thing. This first time, what brings you to convention?
So I, excuse me, I actually won this trip as a secondary. Pardon. So my post commander had won the trip at the department level because of recruiting numbers. So they do a raffle, and he won. So because he had been to many conventions, and him and his wife were going on vacation, literally like a week from now, he said, well, I'm not going to the convention. And the state said, well, either you send somebody else from your department or from your post then, or we're gonna do another raffle. And he said, okay, well, Ben, do you want to go? And I said, hell yeah. Who wouldn't want to take the opportunity to
and
get
here you are.
a free trip to a national convention?
Yeah. And obviously your accommodations are good. They're all very nice there, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, And how did you end up in Hawaii?
So, after AIT, which my AIT was I wouldn't say it's super long, but in terms of like trainings, I would say it's moderate. So it's a 16-week AIT, and then it was really weird because most people didn't know where they were going till they were almost graduated, and I was only their second week out of 16, and they go, "Gilbert, you're going to Korea," and I went, "What?"
Yeah.
And the drill sergeant was like, this is back when they still had drill sergeants, parading you around in AIT.
Right.
And they go, "Hey, you're going to Korea." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, but don't worry about it. If you're single, you're going to love it." I was like, all right, cool. I did that. Got to Korea. Everybody's green. I'm flying in my Class A uniform, and I go home for my little 2 weeks after AIT or whatever, and then I get ready to go to Korea, and I'm standing there in full uniform. This guy goes, "You don't have to fly in that, right?" And I went, "Oh," and I changed out, get to Korea.
We've all been there, man. We've all done
yeah.
the same thing. Yeah.
And I get to Korea. Culture shock, because I'd never been outside the country.
Yeah.
And everything's written in Hangul, and I'm like, wow, man, this is crazy.
Where were you stationed in Korea?
So I was stationed at Camp Edwards originally, and then they closed the Western Corridor, which was Camp Edwards, Camp Howes, and Gary Owen, and they gave that all back to the Korean Nationals, and they shipped us over to Camp Casey. And then we moved from the back of Camp Casey to the front of Camp Casey to the back of Camp Casey to the front of Camp Casey. I was like, man, we spent, I think, more time moving stuff from one motor pool to another than we did actually doing our jobs. And then comes close to that year mark, because most people do a year in Korea and then they go off to somewhere else. Getting close to that year mark, and we start hearing rumor, they're going to shift the entire unit from Korea to Hawaii. And I'm going, I need to figure out how to stay here so I can be in the unit when it shifts. And I go, hey, I'd like to stay, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. You were going anyway, because it was going to be within that year window. So I ended up, we packed all the stuff up, rail-headed it out to Busan or wherever it is that they loaded it on the boats, and we all flew over here. I'm so used to being on an island that I call it here. We flew to Hawaii, and it's amazing and beautiful, and the thing that I like is the community. There's a sense of community there. Everybody, you hear the term ohana, and it really is, it's like that. Everybody is courteous of your happiness, and they want to, everybody's like, how can I help you have a better day? And that for me is what really drew me to staying in Hawaii.
Ohana. Ohana?
Yeah. So ohana is the modern Hawaiian word for family. I learned this through going to college out there, that ohana wasn't traditionally the word used. I don't remember what the word was, but there was actually a word before they started using ohana to mean family. But yeah, I stayed out there. I spent 6.5 years in the same unit, which, is unheard of, really. And so a lot of the guys that I was stationed with in Korea, I spent years and years and years with them, whereas most people, maybe you spend 3 years with somebody, then you move on. So having that 6 years, it honestly, once people started finally PCSing and retiring, it was like watching your brother or your sister move away from college, and you don't know if you're ever going to see them again.
Right.
So it really, and being out in Hawaii, it's not like on the continental mainland where it's like, oh, hey, I'm only a state away. What's a 4-hour drive? What's a 5-hour drive? Or whatever it is. It's a, hey, what's a 8-hour flight in a 5-hour drive? Or
Yeah.
So It definitely, I think that's the only downside of staying out there, is that all the amazing people that I've created relationships with over all the years, it's harder for us to get together as much as it is for people who have moved back to the mainland.
Right. Right. Well, Gilbert, Mr. Gilbert, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in here. You let us knock out Hawaii. That was going to be a tough one. You gave us a tough one.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I could help.
Yeah.
I was hearing a little bit about your project and some of the stuff you guys have done, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing to preserve the memories of
Right.
service members and the like, and then sharing that with the broader community. I think that's really important work,
Right.
so that we can bridge that gap
Right.
of understanding between
Right.
the veterans.
And there is a digital gap. The veterans
Yes.
definitely have a digital gap that we're working on, and we do want to preserve these histories. It's hard to sell this because it's a current event, but these videos we do with veterans will be priceless in 100 years.
Oh, definitely.
Priceless, and we all know that. But also, currently, there's 1,700 cable channels, and not one of them's dedicated to veterans information. Anything that. So that's something we strive to do too. So we're not finished. We're just getting started.
Oh,
we're going to obviously continue to get every veteran we can, especially World War II ones. Those are priority. If we find them, we go after them.
Oh, definitely.
So thank you. I appreciate you coming in here.
Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.